I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders that make it grow. Thank you for this week's sponsor, Moody's Analytics. This week's top story, I had the enjoyable experience of talking to a number of hotel loaners in the Comfort Inn brand. Joining me were Chris Hearn, CEO and founder of Fountainhead Capital, and Vinny Muratori, president of Stone Bank's SBA lending division. Listen to them talk about the differences between SBA 7A and 504 lending for the hotel finance space. Why would someone want a 504 loan over a 7A loan?
Well, they may be pushed into it based on size, number one. That's probably the most relevant answer for anyone in this question. If in this room, if you have a project that's beyond $5 million, you're not going to be able to get SBA financing unless you do 504. I would say the other reason is, especially right now, we're in a rising interest rate environment, as everybody probably painfully knows in this room, with what's happened over the last 6 weeks or so. Tends to be much more advantageous long-term if you can fix your expenses, including your commercial mortgage. So that tends to push people a little bit more in the direction of 504s as opposed to 7As. But those are really the only reasons, I would say. Yeah.
Describe an average 504 transaction. Size, I mean, what's...
Average $10 million transaction, someone's buying... Well, I'll tell you. Let me think for a second. Yeah, $10 million project. Maybe somebody's buying a Comfort Inn on the West Coast that's been very well performing. It's in a nice metro area. Purchase price is $10 million. Requires a little bit of PIP. So maybe the total project cost is the $10 million, I should say. So you'd put in probably your 20% down. Which is pretty common these days with SBA. You might get lucky, and we can come back to this in a little bit, and you may get away with only 15% down. It kind of depends on a number of factors. But you'd have a 50% first, a $5 million first on that project. Probably a 5 or 7 year fixed interest rate, probably a 10-year term, 25-year amortization. On the second, which would be the SBA guaranteed portion, you'd have a below market 20-year fixed rate. Now, that's about to move to a 25-year fixed rate, actually. We're in this little interesting area where the agency's finally going to move off of doing 20-year debentures to 25-year debentures for the 504. Probably the first one will occur, my guess is April or May. And from that point forward, I suspect most projects are going to be on the 25-year fixed rate.
Go ahead, Vinny, jump in.
Yeah.
Can I interject?
Sure.
One of the main differences certainly is the loan size. On a 7A, our maximum loan is $5 million. However, we just closed a 7A on a Quality Inn of $7 million, where we did a para pursue first to exceed that $5 million limit.
Right.
The other difference is that on a 7A, you can add your franchise costs, which you cannot do on a 504. You can add your working capital, which you cannot do on a 504. But we are really capped out at the $5 million. And I refer a lot of business to Chris. Chris refers a lot of business to me. And we've been working together probably almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Let's talk about structure of a 7A loan. Chris is touting the benefit of a fixed rate of 504.
Yes.
What is a typical structure for 7A these days?
We can do a 7A loan with as little as 10% down, not 20% down. But our typical structure is a 25-year term. It's a floating rate, anywhere from 2 to 2 3/4 over prime, that does adjust every quarter for the life of the loan for 25 years. That's the big difference. However, with 10% down, it is a great program if the loan is that $5 million or less.
Can someone structure a 7A loan in a fixed rate environment? Can you get a fixed rate 7A loan?
There are very few lenders out there doing fixed rate. We close a lot and sell a lot into the secondary market. The secondary market is not favorable to fixed rate 7A loans at this time. That may change if the interest rate environment starts raising. I think that will change. But it's out there.
Coleman webinar instructor extraordinaire Lance Sexton gave a great presentation on documenting equity injection. I thought it would be useful to have him give you his final takeaways on how to document equity injection for SBA 7A loans.
Takeaways: equity injection fraud is a big deal. As participant lenders, we need to pay attention and properly vet any equity injection. Understanding proper sources, what can and cannot be used as an equity injection, is real important for you as a participant bank. Verifying and documenting that is critical on an SBA loan to protect your guarantee, especially on early default loans. And understanding how to set equity injection requirements on delegated loans such as PLP and Express is a critically important part of the SBA underwriting process. Again, as Bob said, we'll talk about the budget, the new SBA budget, and some of the changes. Bob, I love what I see about the SBA Express program, $1 million.
Spoiler alert, White House says raise it to $1 million. Which I
hope it.
Yeah, I think it, anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Let's get to these questions, even though we're excited to talk about the budget. Jim, we followed all the rules. Then we learned that the borrower is repaying the seller note that was on standby. What do? We can't call the note except for payment defaults. What do we do, Lance?
And that is an exceptional question. I did talk about that in today's webinar. And it's Jim, right? Jim, it has happened to me, my friend. What I did is first I called the borrower in and I said, according to the terms of your loan agreement, you're violating one of the requirements of your SBA loan. And I did not call the loan. I had a perfectly performing loan, and SBA wants us to find a way to allow borrowers to repay the loan. But I documented my loan file with a critical memorandum that talked about, found out that the borrower was repaying a loan that was supposed to be on standby, called the borrower in and explained to them they were violating the terms of the agreement and that needed to stop now, and that I would continue to monitor it, but because the loan was a performing loan, felt like we were in a good position, I did not want to call the loan, because that, if they are paying on the owner finance that's supposed to be on standby, that's a technical default. Now, but yeah, if you've got somebody that's paid 40 consecutive timely payments and you don't see any prospect that they're going to stop, I'm not going to call that note at that point. I'm just going to document my file.
Okay, would you memo the file and do you notify SBA or just put it in the file?
I'm gonna document my file, because if you send that, guys, I ran the servicing center in Little Rock. If you send that to I'm not even sure they'll respond to it. It probably, nothing will happen with it. They'll see it,
but there's no reason to respond.
Yeah.
Finally, conversation with Evan Singer, President, CEO of SmartBiz Lending. Really unique model for SBA lending. Listen to our conversation. Evan Singer, CEO, SmartBiz Loans. Evan, welcome.
Hey, Bob. Thanks so much for having me.
Pretty amazing numbers. SmartBiz facilitated $329 million in funded SBA 7A loans last year. Evan, what type of entity are you? I guess an online marketplace for small businesses to get SBA financing?
You're right, Bob. That's exactly what we are. So we are an online marketplace. We facilitate loans for small businesses. We license software to a network of banks that we help to automate their underwriting and origination of SBA loans.
Who are some of the banks that you partner with?
So our three largest are Celtic Bank, which is a top 10 SBA lender, First Home Bank, which is a top 10 SBA lender, and Five Star Bank, which is, I think now a top 20, maybe top 25 SBA lender.
Well, with your numbers, you're certainly going to be pushing them up on that. Hey, the White House the other day announced the budget. They're going to increase Express up to $1 million and increase the 7A loan cap. What's your opinion about those proposed changes?
Well, I think some of the changes are great. The SBA has been a terrific partner for us, and I think for the American small businesses in the U.S. Regarding the cap, moving that up to 30 billion, that's welcomed, and we've run up against the cap a few times in the last 5 years, so I think that would be really helpful. Regarding express loans up to 1 million, our banks don't actually do originate express loans. They're just doing traditional 7A. Certainly some of the larger banks, Wells Fargo, Chase, US Bank, are focused on express. As you know, Bob, they have a 50% guarantee and they carry higher rates. So for the small business, we are laser focused on getting them the lowest rate and the longest term they can get.
Evan, you read all these online lenders now, Amazon, PayPal. There's a lot of players in the small business lending niche. Why is your approach so attractive to Main Street?
Well, as you know, and I think most folks know out there, the SBA loan is really the gold standard in small business lending. It's got the lowest rates and the longest terms. So while Amazon actually has some pretty reasonable rates, their terms aren't 10 years like the loans that our banks offer. So the small businesses that we're able to help get an SBA loan can get the lowest monthly payment, and then they can use that money to turn around and really grow their business.
Evan, I was in the car the other night, and I heard your radio ad playing. I said, hey, I think I know those guys. You're coming out with a new product. What is SmartBiz Advisor?
SmartBiz Advisor, it's the world's first AI-based intelligent CFO. A small business can come online and learn about what they can do to improve their financial health. They can also learn how a bank thinks about them from a financial standpoint and what they can do to build up to get an SBA loan over time if they're not ready today. It's all online, completely automated, and we've incorporated quite a bit of AI and machine learning to really improve the user experience for the small business and give them information they've never had before. We've done a fair amount of research with small businesses and asking them kind of what are their some of their core needs and gaps. And what they express to us is that they have no idea how a bank thinks about them. It's a black box, and what can they do to improve their financial health and status? And we're going to give small businesses that power and those tools for the first time.
Cool. Evan Singer, CEO, Small Biz Loans. Evan, always enjoy the conversations with you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you for joining us for the Coleman Report Update and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.